Good evening, gentlemen. I need to start off by apologizing for not making an episode last night, but while I was feeding my new baby, I was feeding her a bottle, getting her ready to pass out. And then after I was done feeding her, I was going to come in here and make a video, but I fell asleep while I was feeding her a bottle. So, and I woke up at like 3 in the morning and just decided to go to bed. So didn't get a video last night, but welcome to another episode of A Fool's Interpretation of the Havamal. I am your host, Robert the Fool, and today we are going to be discussing stanzas 60, 61, 62, 63, into 63. We'll save 64 for next time because half of it's cut off, and I don't like doing this thing going back and forth between pages. I mean, this is the first time I'm doing this. In times past, I've just said if you saw the previous episode, you'd see the cut off part, and yeah. But so this time, I'm going to bounce back and forth between these two pages. But, without any further ado, let's start reading these stanzas and discuss what we think they mean and how we can apply them to our lives today. So, stanza 60. You should know how to dry logs for you should know how to dry logs for firewood and bark for roofing, and also this, the right measure of wood for each time and season. So, all right, not very many of us have wood fireplaces these days, and even those of us that do, it's not the primary means of heating or cooking. And even if you are using it for heating your house, most people aren't paying attention to, like, they don't know how much a cord of wood is. They don't know that it's 4 feet by 8 feet by 4 feet. And so generally, if you were going to heat your house with like a wood stove or something in the past, you'd want to know how much wood you need for the winter, obviously. And then, like, this is another thing, bark for roofing. And I've never made shingles out of bark, and like I've dried strips of bark, but when you dry bark, it curls. I mean, it's already curled because it's wrapped around a tree, and then but when you let it dry, like you strip it off of a piece of wood and then you let it dry, it curls. So when I read this stanza and it's talking about using bark for roofing, there must be some technique to making sure the bark stays flat while you're drying it out to make a shingle out of it. Because like I've made shingles out of wood where you just have like this long blade and you pull back on a piece of wood and you get this nice like 1/4 inch thick sheet of wood coming off a round or something. But then like the right measure of wood for each time and season, so like the whole season thing, that's like your cord that you're going to need for the winter, right? Or you might need more depending on the size of your house or whatever. But for each time, right, you need like these, like for back then, he's talking about how much wood do you need to boil a pot of water? How much wood do you need to smoke a deer or something, after you're trying to preserve the meat? So that's what it means by like each time, right? But we're not doing that stuff today. So how do you apply this today? Well, all right, so you need to know how to dry logs for firewood and bark for roofing. Okay, so you don't need to know how to dry the logs for firewood and the bark for roofing. You need to know how to make the money to pay people to do those things. Because in today's world, you're more than likely, well, okay, granted, I fixed my own roof. I helped my father-in-law fix his roof. So maybe you are one of those kinds of people and you will be fixing your own roof. And so you need to know how to lay a booklet of shingles on your roof. A lot of people aren't going to know what a booklet of shingles is, but there's a specific way you got to lay shingles on your house. Otherwise, the water gets in and you're going to have a leak. You don't want to be that dad. You want to know what a booklet of shingles is for the roof of your house and how to lay them correctly. As far as like the right measure of wood for each time and season, how do we like apply that today? Well, all right, let's think about, like how can we take that sentence, that part of the sentence, right? The right measure of wood for each time and season and apply it today, because we're not really dependent on a wood stove or whatever to heat our house. And all right, so this, I apply this to like maintaining my vehicle. You need to know or like, in not just your car, but like all your pieces of equipment around your property. Like I've got a brush hog kind of a thing. I've got, multiple weed whackers, chainsaws, um, just a whole bunch of tools that use engines, whether they be electric or internal combustion. And you need to know their maintenance schedules and requirements and because then like the way you treat a tool during the summer is different from the way you treat it during the winter. So the time and the season, um, things like that. You need to rotate the tires on your car, that kind of stuff. Let's move on to the next stanza, 61. You should always go out well kempt and well fed, even if you can't afford good clothes. You should not be ashamed of your shoes and pants, nor of your horse, even if it's not a good one. Now, the way we apply this to today, obviously you change the horse to a car. But this is timeless advice. That was good advice back then, and it's going to be good advice until the end of time. And the reason that this has to be written is because oftentimes people, when they discuss Odin, they talk about how he was a god for the lords, and Thor was a god for the common folk, right? Odin's not talking to the lords right now with this stanza. He is talking to your poor broke ass that works a normal job just like me. And what he is saying is, when us poor folk, when we like 95% of my wardrobe is work clothes, and I have like one suit. I have like one pair. Well, I have two pairs of nice shoes because one of them is from when I was in the military, but I don't even really wear them because I fucking hate them. So basically, one pair of nice shoes. I got multiple pairs of work boots, multiple pairs of work pants, all that kind of stuff. And then when you're only wearing these poor work clothes all the time, like when you only wear your work clothes, or when you wear your regular clothes as work clothes, because that's what generally happens. Like as like a young broke ass dude, you get a job working some kind of manual labor or in a plant, and you don't have like good Dickies work clothes or Carhartt work clothes or whatever company you buy your work clothes from. You don't have them yet because you're broke and that shit's expensive, and so you're wearing like your stupid broke cheap jeans to work, and your dumb T-shirt that says like fucking Nirvana on it or something. And then as time goes on and you start making more money, then you can afford to get some better work pants and some better work shirts and jackets and stuff. But you're still kind of poor, right? Because you don't have all these nice clothes. And so when you go out, you're wearing your work clothes, right? And so then when you're wearing your work clothes all the time, people start to feel like, well, what's the point of looking nice? Like I wear these clothes and like I go to work and I get dirty, and I could come home and just like hang out or like go out to the bar or whatever, and like not get done up or shower or whatever, just go after the bar. Like I'm dirty, I'm always dirty, I don't have any other different clothes to wear anyways, and so what's the point? I'll just go like this. That's dumb as shit. No. Make yourself look nice. Take a shower. Brush your teeth. Comb your hair. Cut your nails. Dig the dirt out of underneath your nails. Fucking put on some kind of good smelling aftershave or something like that. And then you go out and then you talk to people and, try to hook up with women and whatnot if you're a single dude. Or if you're not single and you're married like me and you go out, make yourself look nice. Like I noticed this about myself and other guys that I know and strangers that I just see out in public when I'm doing something with my wife. Guys like me, we won't put any effort into getting ready to go out, and then our wife looks fucking amazing compared to us. And so it's like women do it for a completely different reason than men. But you want to present yourself as the best when you go out, because it's like, why do you want to present yourself better when you go out? Well, I think the reason that you want to present yourself better when you go out is because then if you have to deal with people while you're out in public, everything is easier when you look like an upstanding member of society. And then everything is far easier when the people you're dealing with find out that you actually are an upstanding member of society. And, when it's talking about not being ashamed of your shoes and your pants and your horse and stuff, even if it's not a good one. I mean, this is just further what I'm talking about. Like, you worked for your pants, you worked for your shoes. So even if they're kind of beat up and they're kind of worn out because of your work pants or your work shoes, or they're just old, clean them, scrub up your shoes. Like, it drives me insane when I see all these guys wearing dirty ass boots that could look really nice, even if they're their daily work boots, if you just scrubbed them up and cleaned them. Like, it's not hard at all. And then your boot will last 5 times longer. And you won't be bitching about, like, bro, I'll spend $300 on a pair of Red Wings because of how good of a boot they are. And I still haven't blown out the first pair that I bought because I treat them well and they're a really good boot. But then, you buy a $130 pair of Timberlands and, destroy them in 8 months or a year or something, and then be bitching about how expensive they are. Well, they're only expensive because you blew them out in like a year. If you treat it well and you take care of it and it lasts longer, then that $130 won't feel like it just got wasted. And even when you're driving a shitty car, I've had crappy cars. I've had a crappy car before. I've had multiple crappy cars. At least you have a car. Like, that's what I always told myself. Like, I was like, bro, like, I live in a house. I have a car because I go to work and I have a job, and I have the shit that I want. So if somebody's trying to talk crap to you because you have a crappy car, do they even have a car? And then, or if they do have a car, are they just somebody who has nicer shit than you and they're just talking crap to you to be an asshole? I mean, who gives a fuck what they think? Like, that's to let somebody like that affect your mood is like stuff that we've talked about in previous stanzas. That would be something that the fool would waste his time worrying about what somebody said to him about his car. Not the wise man. Let's move on to the next stanza. 62. A hungry eagle snaps his beak and stretches out his neck when the sea comes into sight. People get the same look about them when they walk among strangers and have no one to speak well of them. Sometimes I think that this one seems confusing to people when I talk about it, or like when I talk about it to them. Uh, because I don't think. Well, I mean, most of us never spend unless you live at the ocean or whatever. I don't think like since you don't see birds going out to the sea to catch food and eat, and then it's not an analogy that you think of all the time. So I think that that's why this is confusing to people sometimes, just because the it's it's not an analogy that they would come up with, nor is it in their daily life. Like stuff like that doesn't happen in their daily life. So then when it is presented to them as an analogy, it doesn't make sense. Because like let's think about this part. People get the same look about them when they walk among strangers and have no one to speak well of them. Okay, so snapping their beak and stretching out their neck, they're looking for somebody to speak well for them. Well, that kind of seems like they're like being aggressive because like this eagle is out at the sea looking for something to eat, and now that he's at the sea and he's snapping his beak and stretching out his neck, like he's aggressively trying to get some food, right? He's an eagle and he's hunting fish. But that's not exactly because. But then that's why this metaphor makes it confusing when it's talking about people in a crowd of strangers. This person in a crowd of strangers isn't just going around attacking people trying to get them to speak well of them. What it's talking about is your anxiety and your uneasiness of being because you're in a place among strangers. And so when you're looking, it's the uneasiness of being in a place where you have nobody to vouch for you, like we've talked about in previous stanzas. And so when somebody has nobody to vouch for them or back up their points, it can make you jumpy or fly off the handle when somebody does approach you in an aggressive manner or say something to you, or like if anything happens to you when you're in a place when you feel all alone, you are more likely to lash out. And that's what I think this stanza means. 63. If you want to be called wise, you should know how to ask and answer wisely. Tell your secret to one person, never two. Everyone knows if three people know. All right, so if you want to be called wise, you should know how to ask and answer wisely. Yeah, that's like, when the hero goes and sees the oracle. When Neo goes and sees the oracle, is he asking the right question when he goes and sees her? He says, "Am I the one?" That's not the right question he's supposed to ask at that moment, right? He's not wise in that moment because it's the first movie. He just found out he's Neo. He doesn't even really know he's Neo. He doesn't necessarily believe he's Neo, and because he's the new unwise hero that is still at that point reluctant to go on his journey, he doesn't know the right answer to ask, or he doesn't know the right question to ask, and so he stupidly, foolishly asks, "Am I the one?" Which is not. That's not what he's supposed to ask. Um, and at that moment, he can't even answer the question anyways, and so. But like uh, the oracle, the like the way she answers the question is wise, because she answers it by telling him that he's not the one, and so that frees Neo from his fate. Because remember how, if you've watched the movie, he talks about how he doesn't like the idea of not being in control of his fate. So the second Morpheus tells him that he is Neo and I've been looking for you and blah blah blah, you're the one, durka durka dur. Neo wants to, Mr. Anderson wants to push away from that because he doesn't like the idea that he's not in control of his fate and his own actions, right? So So Morpheus's core belief is directly in contract with one of Mr. Anderson, Neo's core beliefs. Morpheus thinks he's the one. Neo doesn't believe in fate. So what does the Oracle know the wise answer is to give Neo to his foolish question is to tell him that yes, you are correct. Like, well, she doesn't tell him you're correct, but she knows Neo doesn't think he's the one. So she tells him what he she tells him basically what he wants to hear. So that because she tells him, yeah, no, you're not the one. It's not you. You got it, but it's not here right now. Maybe another life or something like that. So then her telling him that frees him up from thinking that Morpheus is right about Neo being fated to be the one. And then once Neo believes that it's not actually fate, then he can do it because it's of his own free will, right? It's of his own volition. And so that's the wise answer. That was the wise answer. He had a stupid question, but she had a wise answer. As far as like telling your secret to one person, yeah, that's your spouse. That's your wife, guys. Don't spend time telling secrets to your best bud. Your best bud is gonna go tell whoever he's fucking, or he's gonna tell his best buds, especially after they get a couple of drinks in them, or some smoke in them. They start, you get all baked and drunk, and everybody starts clucking like a bunch of hens, squawking like old women at a knitting circle. Only tell your secrets to your wife. And yeah, you tell your secrets to your best buds, they're going to tell them to everybody. And that basically sums it up for tonight. I'm not going to get into stanza 64. I'll pull up this photograph for the next stanza, for the next session of stanzas, and we'll read it next time. But I hope you guys all have a good night, and I will talk to you later.